Andrew, can you hear?
Yes.
Well, Jane.
I just want to, Beth, do you want to come up? too? So you don't have to run out?
What is it?
Because the owl will see you then together. I don't know, you're changing it off and I put one on. Night and day sitting here.
I'm never the person to ask if it's cold in the room.
Oh, why do you think of my arms?
It's on top of that, so.
Is there anybody online?
I don't.
Andrew.
We should be able to see it, like if somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you told me Molly's not.
But I don't know that anybody.
I think we can't run the meeting.
Like the garden.
In my first,
They'll be here.
she was coming.
Molly's not here, correct? Yes, but I'll find a country.
And
It's an empty. Molly's not here, Kevin, but I'm assuming we don't have the four.
we don't have a quorum, we can't call the meeting.
No.
I've been through that before in several meetings.
Stuck.
I don't think we can call the meeting. Being called to order. No, I can't even.
You can speak, just stop the record.
It's fine, but you'll have to do it again.
Then you have to do it again next week.
Off the record, it's only on the record in sign language.
Not answering her phone, she's not answering her texts. No. We'll give her 5 more minutes and see what happens. Thought about calling her earlier.
I talked to her
Yeah, Kay's
just a few hours ago.
Here this morning.
It's fine.
Yeah, that's probably around 9 o'clock. She said, I'll be there. Her plan is to be there. Want a green bin, anyone? We have this ginormous bag in our office. So I'm like, me one.
Trying to stay away from sugar as much as possible. So.
And we heard when we're gonna get a extension service.
Candy.
Probably as fast as IU hired me.
the extra
Oh, really?
IU takes
yeah.
money out of personnel.
Oh, so they haven't hired us. Oh, okay.
Well, I'm assuming
Okay.
Purdue's not assuming faster than IU, I suspect. I'm hiring.
But you will hear as soon as they hire somebody.
I still remember both.
Yes.
Contact them, but I know.
They have a person named on it that knows we're waiting for.
Yes.
The dog ate them all.
The director.
I think they're waiting for the director to make sense.
Oh,
You know, used to be at the restaurant.
yeah, but I don't recall whether that has to be the director.
I'll go read it again, but it's one of those things, they may only be on a month, then the director, you know what I mean? The director.
You don't do that well.
Yeah, they'll like it.
Today.
You know, for today. Yeah, they just told us the whole time.
Did I hear them? Are they like?
That's
What you know?
I
They added.
Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Gina.
don't
Stuff to put ours away.
I know, I
It's always sad.
Yeah.
Molly, can you hear us? Molly? Molly?
Please report to us.
Anywho, we are not in session.
There she is.
I'm here. Sorry, I was
Okay.
trying to unmute.
That's okay. We do not have a quorum, so we're not in session right now. So we are
Okay.
waiting on the fourth. If you wondered why we're all chit chatting.
Okay, thanks.
So people were very happy to hear that the trail was open.
Yes.
So I think there'd been a conversation on Next Door South, a couple days before you sent out the email going like, why isn't it open? We want to try it. Is it open? And people going like, well, you know, we've run it, but it's not officially open. And
Well, Molly would appreciate, we were waiting for written confirmation from the railroad.
anyway, so I posted the next day and there were a lot of likes, so.
On that subject, Kelly,
There's
you know, okay.
Okay,
Can't vote though.
well, and we can't,
The celebration of the grand opening, consider, at least notifying Richard Vonnegut, Indian Trails.
Sure, I will put them on the list.
His cooperation in this process made that segment possible.
Because I know I invited Kyle Hannon, who is part of that group, but Kyle can give me his email and I'll.
Yeah,
if
he
Richard
should
wants to come
be
down.
invited.
Anybody else?
Will he be able to?
he can vote on everything but the burns of the issues. He can't vote on that.
Okay, so
Be increased.
I'm gonna have to fill out my list. Your list specifically, and I had that.
Yeah.
So now that when it has to come by, I may be.
He can't vote on it. Time out. Go ahead.
Molly, are you there?
I just need one day. Maybe you can do
Hi, Carolyn.
Joe, actually, we're trying to get a legal opinion here.
Okay,
that. And you need to.
Step away.
Molly?
Kevin.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if you were saying Molly or engaged in conversation. What's up?
So sorry.
So we now have a quorum in person, but we also have a member online. And from my understanding, he can vote on everything but things that are specifically denied by the Burns Amendment. Is that correct?
The statute lists 7 things that he cannot vote on, and I will pull it up real quick.
And it's in our
We
packet.
have it in our packet.
As I was looking at.
I think the biggest
so
one will be the price increases.
Yep, adoption of a budget, reduction in personnel, initiation of a referendum, establishing or increasing a fee, establishing or increasing a penalty, using eminent domain, or establishing, raising, or renewing a tax.
Yeah, so basically, there's just the prices. And the other question is, so if we had 3 members and Joe online, we could still, could we initiate the meeting? Or
As
do we
long
need
as
to have a
there's an
quorum in the room?
yeah, it's an in-person forum, so they would have to have a quorum in the room.
Okay, that's good to know for future, whatever.
And because there's one person online virtually, any votes would have to be a roll call.
Yeah, we do that. We've been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's call, we need to order. It's 3:38 according to my watch. Roll call, board members.
All right, Evelyn Harrell, absent. Bill Goss,
Present online.
Carolyn Vanderwell,
Here.
Phil Cornwell,
Here.
Carol Walter. Here. And Kevin Duggan.
Here.
All right, statement of compliance, this meeting using electronic communications is subject to IC 5-14-1.5-3.5. It is specifically important in this meeting because we do have one member online who will not be able to vote on or discuss, for that matter, the raising of this rental fees and rates, which is new business item B. Other than that, Joe, I believe you can participate fully in the meeting.
okay.
Amendments and approval of the agenda. We do have one request already to add an item to the agenda. First, dog park hardware and software problems. The gate computer board software has come to an end of its useful life and needs to be replaced. Greg Cohn, Technical Services Department Director, requested that we purchase a new gate system that TSD is familiar with and can assist with during technical difficulties. TSD recommendations are purchase a VTech door entry system that is identical to the current door entry system for Monroe County government buildings. We do not have a total price on a new system, but it's important to correct the problem in a timely manner. Most likely the purchase would go through the TSD department and MCPR would reimburse TSD for the purchase. Once fixed, it should be good for many years. And item 2, the Karsh Farm water line problem. Discuss that. I would actually like to add 2 very quick amendments to new business. One is to add a quick update on the Karsh Farm Greenway. I know it's in the reports at the end, but public doesn't read those, so we can just update that for the public. And also the same thing on the Flatwoods funding, whether or not the foundation approved that funding that we had talked about at last meeting. Anybody else have any other items?
What item?
So the other 2 would go under old business.
So we're looking at old business B and
Yeah, B and C.
And B would be.
Karsh Farm Greenway update.
Oh, I thought that was on new business C. That's what you said.
No, that's the water line issue. That's a different issue.
Oh, okay.
And then C would be Flatwoods funding. So I entertain a motion to add those items to the agenda.
I move that we add the items just listed to the agenda, excuse me.
Is there a second?
All right.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Kay, would you call the roll?
Carolyn,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Carol. Yes. Kevin
Yes.
and Joe can vote.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
So the motion passes.
Yes.
And we will move on to 4, which actually did out of order. 5, is there public comment on non-agenda items? Is there anybody from the public out there who would like to speak? See anybody, John? Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the October 19th, 2020 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the October 19, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll second. Is there any discussion or correction to the minutes? Hearing none, Kay, let's call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
and Carol.
Right, moving on to approval of the October 2022 non-reverting claims, pages 10 to 12. Is there a motion to approve? I think motions today, so.
I move that we accept the non-reverting claims for October 2022.
For a second,
Second.
any discussion?
Question on the first item. The t-shirts, were those items that we gave away, or were they items we sold, or how were those handled at the Fun Fest?
They were sold at the event.
Okay, so On those, we would have made as much as we spent or more, or.
Correct. And actually, that amount that we spent as a department will be reimbursed by the foundation. Because they're the ones that house the revenue for Bug Fest.
Anything for the ladybugs, right?
Everything related to Bug Fest is reimbursed. The crickets, all of it.
I noticed that ladybugs are significantly cheaper than crickets.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is there. Crickets must be harder to catch.
All right, oh, the other question I had, the public viewing fee for the movies, is this a copyright issue?
Yeah, it is, and it's surprisingly expensive. But I suppose that's how they make their money.
Then I noticed on the credit card charges that there's another thing that says that movie for the Harvest Fest was $5, but that's.
So, yes, when you purchase the right to play the movie, you can either purchase the movie itself, or you can pay an additional fee for them to send it to you. In this case, we were playing a relatively old movie, so it was like $5 to buy, where it would have been like 15 for them to ship it. So it just made more sense to purchase it. And now we have it.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a roll call.
Just for number.
Now claims for October 2022.
Carol,
Yes.
Joe,
yes,
Kevin,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
and Phil.
Yes.
Move on to. Approval of the October 2022 credit card charges on page 13. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the credit card check out in log for October 2022. Charges.
Well, second that.
Any discussion on the credit card charges? Maybe none, Kim, will you call the roll?
Carolyn,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
and Joe.
yes.
So, that's time to shine. We have a Carson Day Camp update.
All right. Back in September in your board packet, I had a revenue report from this past season for day camp, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit further about the transportation issue. I think Joe had asked some questions a few months ago about that. As a reminder, in the past, up until 2020, World Transit had provided all of our transportation in a contract sense for every trip, whether in town, out of town. In early 2020, they informed us that they had applied for and gotten a federal grant that precludes them from providing that type of contract transportation to people like us. So we knew we were going to have to come up with something to be competitive. All the other camps go on field trips and swimming and all of that. So as it turned out in 2020, if you remember, that was the height of COVID. So we did not have day camp in 2020. And then the following year, it was still a pretty intense COVID situation. So we had camp, but it was a very modified camp. And we didn't leave, so we didn't go anywhere. So we didn't have to deal with the transportation then. So that gave us some time to investigate some options. And what we came up with, thanks to the help of Greg Cron, who at the time was the County Fleet Services Director, he found a hand-me-down minibus that had come from the youth shelter that we were going to be able to use. So with that minibus combined with our two departmental Ford Explorers, I ran the numbers on that. If we can make two shuttle trips with all three vehicles, we will be able to transport the kids to our in-town, like swimming and in-town field trips. We will be able to handle that. And then the out-of-town field trips, which I take 3 a summer, I contracted with Go Express Travel to do that. So that's what kind of cobbled together a plan, and it worked out really well. I was a little worried about the shuttling and the timing of things, but we were able to make it work. And I looked at I was comparing the cost to what we normally would pay rural transit in the summer and what we spent this summer. And with the Go Express and the added fuel expenses from the highway garage, our total transportation costs were about $3,500. Now, rural transit, it seemed like the last few years, we were in the $4,500 a summer range with them. But actually, since we had to have an extra staff person drive, I had to bring an extra counselor in. So the extra amount that went to our hourly for the summer, it works out to be just about the same expense that all these years we've spent on rural transit. So logistically, it's a little more difficult doing the shuttling. That's the downside. The upside is I have an extra counselor on site for in between the trips things. So that's just one more set of eyes and ears, which we can always use at day camp. So I actually would like to continue using the minibus, which I think we'll be able to do. Still unclear who actually is in control of it. We don't know. But it worked. So I was happy about that, and that there wasn't. I really thought the fuel expenses would be more driving that big old minibus all over the place, but it was surprisingly fuel efficient. So it worked. So that's what we did, and that's what I'll probably continue to do.
How many campers did we have?
I based the numbers, I had to make the rosters a little smaller so they could fit on the 2 shuttles. We probably had an average around, I'm gonna say around 35 a session. We go weekly sessions. So it's probably 35 to possibly 40, that probably got around 35-ish.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like you made a very impressive adaptation to circumstances, and I commend you for that. A couple questions. Do we have any idea as to the likely useful lifespan of that minibus? Is it close to its last legs, or is it?
Mechanically, I don't know. You might know more about that bus than I do.
I drove it the other day and it seemed like it was all right. I think there's a couple issues with it, like that, like maybe the air doesn't work, but I think
Yes.
the youth services are in the same like condition. From when I talked to Richard Kreider, the new fleet services guy, he was saying that theirs were roughly similar, at least 1 or 2 of them. But I mean, when I drove it, it seemed to drive fine.
I think it's fine to drive. I think it's kind of fun to drive.
I don't think that anywhere in the next 5 years it's going to
Well,
go.
that's good. And then my second question, you may have already answered. If something goes wrong with it, it needs to work. Is that going to be done by the county fleet services? Or is that going to cost us to maintain it?
It's my understanding that fleet services does about everything. I mean, I had to have them.
We don't pay for anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's.
A couple seats.
Yeah.
It runs better than what it looks. It looks a little rough around the edges, but it's, none of the parents balked at it when they're like, oh my God, So,
Okay,
I'm not letting my kid.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
good.
So they're gonna keep us in the rotation, or that everyone knows what's going on now. So
That's great.
hopefully the new fleet director will
It's
keep in touch.
parked at the park and we've got the only keys for it, so I don't know. Not going.
Well, and the new fleet director is a former day camp. His daughter was in my day camp years ago too. So I always tell him when youth services gets a new bus, and shove the other one our way. So we'll
Well,
see.
should we be storing it inside somewhere, or does it not matter at this point?
Well done, Beth. I think that's an excellent adaptation, as Kevin says, of a bad situation. You made it into a good situation. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Any other thoughts about camp you'd like to share?
No, it went really well. We're still dealing with I shouldn't call it the tail end of COVID, but there were still some COVID considerations that we had to deal with this past summer. We had actually 2 weeks where there were some COVID infections that we had to send some kids home, follow the CDC and the local health guidelines. So the bottom line of what we took in would have been somewhat higher, but we lost two full sessions. We lost probably half the kids each session for refunds because they weren't vaccinated or that kind of thing. So hoping by next year, that's not nearly as big of a concern.
How's the staffing for their after-school programs going on? Managed to deal with that?
Yes, thanks to some high school kids that are really responsible. And one is the daughter of the school secretary, the other is the daughter of the school after-school director, and the other is their teammate on the volleyball team. So they worked out really well. They're good kids, and they know a lot of the Unionville kids, and that it was very stressful to start with getting them on staff, but that's worked out too. We've made it work.
Great.
So.
Other thoughts from the board? Questions for Beth? No longer on the hot seat.
All right.
All right, so the old business update on the Greenway.
Yes, that would be me. The Cars Farm Greenway is 100% open from Cars Farm Park to Ellettsville, 7.2 miles. There's 3 trailheads, one at Cars Farm Park, one at Loesch Road, and one at Campbell's Park. Cars Farm Park has a restroom open 12 months out of the year. Loesch Road has a brand new, very large ADA accessible porta toilet that's serviced once a week. And Campbell's Park restroom mainly is closed most of the time. But Andy and the staff have been working very hard. We had DNR come 2 months early for an inspection. We passed with flying colors. They probably will use us as an example of management, and also our construction administrator, Andy Knutz. They love his paperwork that he does. They're going to use that as an example for future trail grants. So they were just tickled pink, and they're just excited that they can maybe hopefully check this off of their list to do. The grant I'm not done with the paperwork because we have to have a lot of checks and a lot of things done happening by October 31st. Hopefully we'll just make it by the skin of our teeth. But everyone's happy.
The public seems to be excited that it's open, so that's good news.
Any questions?
The facilities at Loesch Road parking lot, they're gonna be serviced year round, or?
Yes,
They are.
yes, every week.
Okay, well, that's great.
The gentleman, not us, he comes and he pumps it. Brings it down. So, we anticipate someone will vandalize it. But we have staff there every
So
week.
far, it's been good.
Well, but it's not ours, we're renting.
No, it's ours.
Okay.
We own this because a truly ADA accessible restroom, even though you say, oh, we're renting one, it's not truly accessible because it has to be so small to fit on the truck, the rental truck.
Okay,
This one actually,
This one's 8 foot wide. It took 4 of us to lift off the trailer.
okay.
and it's not meant
It's
to
8 by 8.
it's not meant to be picked up every week and thrown to a new location. This is a Indiana company, it's a national company, and every part is replaceable.
And it's pumpable even if it's 4 degrees out.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they put some sort of antifreeze in the tanks in them, but yeah.
And we bought 2 of those, and the other one will go at the sheriff's substation. I think it'll be in place in a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
We'll see. It's the locate's done. We're waiting to try to get down there. Find some time.
We still have the rented Porta John at the Limestone Greenway, but this one will take that place because it actually has grab bars. You can get a wheelchair in it. It's
You can
truly
get a stroller
ADA.
and a couple kids and that thing with
Yeah.
no issue. Your bicycle, like if you want to take your bike in there, instead of locking it up, you can fit your bike in there. I mean, it's
We don't encourage that.
it's made by it. It's huge.
So, you know, in that particular one, there is a camera on it through the sheriff's substation, has a camera right on the restroom. We are going to put up trail cameras at Lowe's Road also. So hopefully if someone does something bad, we'll see that color of vehicle and hopefully we can track them down.
And we're still looking at a December 6th.
December 6th is the grand opening. It starts at 11:30 at Karst Farm Greenway Trailhead. Duke Energy Foundation will be there because they paid for that, most of that. And then we will you can either drive your vehicle to Lowe's Road, or we'll have the minibus, we'll have our Ford Explorers there, we can transport you there. We'll have Gators, the Sheriff's Polaris there, and you can either ride down the trail, you can look at the trail, or you can walk down the trail. And we'll have a ceremony at 12 o'clock there. There is a chance the governor might show up. So we'll know closer to his schedule. Most of the trail openings that the governor has been invited to are in the spring. So this is the only December one that he's been invited to. So as long as he has nothing else on the schedule, he might come down.
Is
Is there a game that day?
Well, I was hoping there's a basketball game that he might want to come down for.
the parking at Lowe's Road is what, limited to 6 spots?
It is, but we will have parking attendants. They'll be parking in the grass.
There's a lot of parking space in the grass between the road and the trail and that.
Yeah, we'll have, I mean, our park staff will be right here,
That's where
right
we
here,
parked.
right
We
here.
did all our.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Yeah. That's why we're encouraging people to go in the bus we have. And our Ford Explorers will drive you there. If you need to come home, we'll pop you in the Ford Explorer, get you back to Karst Farm Park. So we have a lot of opportunities for people to go walk around the trail, and we'll get you home as soon as possible. If that's your goal. Go back to Karst Farm Park where your car is. DNR also will be coming down for this event.
Super. Any other thoughts on the Greenway? And then update on the funding for the Flatwoods Park?
The
Carolyn?
event
Carolyn,
Yeah.
I've got an interesting tidbit of information on the Greenway. I was talking to some people here in the Ellisville area in the last several days. And I was talking about the trailhead and the railroad crossing and the trail being totally open now. And each time I would mention it, I've mentioned Lowe's Road. And finally, the one lady said, "You do know you're mispronouncing that, don't you?" And I said, "No, that's the way I've always heard it." And I said, "Well, she and her husband actually rented that old farmhouse that was the Lush farm." And she said, "No, the family pronounced it Lush." I didn't know that. And there are some members of that family still around Ellisville. And I have confirmed that over here, that it is actually pronounced Lush rather than Losh, even though the spelling doesn't look like it.
Well, Lush is better for a park anyways.
Well, yes.
That's true.
All right, duly noted. We will start calling it Lush Road.
Okay.
On the highway department.
All right, old business rather, item C, the Flatwoods funding.
Yes, the Monroe County Parks and Recreation Foundation approved up to $35,000 for the project. So everything's a go. The commissioners have signed all of the contracts agreements for the equipment, for the installation, and for the playground surface. So we're full steam ahead. Our goal is April installation if everything works out well.
Great.
All right. Moving on from old business to new business, we have approval for maintenance technician hire.
That would be me. The county council approved our full-time position of a maintenance technician, which was fantastic. We advertised. We got our group of people. The committee was Andy, myself, and John. We interviewed 2 people, and we believe the most qualified is Christian Robertson.
Robertson.
You pronounce Robertson. Robertson. Well, there's Robertson's and Robertson. Christian has had 2 tour of duties with us. We're quite impressed with this gentleman. He knows a lot about irrigation. He actually knows specifically about our irrigation. He did high-end landscaping in Aspen, Colorado, so you can just imagine those clients.
Comparable to us.
And I've also called to his bosses out at Colorado, and one of them told me, we were just thinking about him the other day. We miss him. He takes initiative. He has a quiet demeanor. He thinks. He's a really good problem solver. He can do plumbing, hand tools, power tools. He's a farm boy. And he can drive anything up apart, and we're quite impressed with his skills. So I did call HR. We went through all the procedures. Everyone was treated equally. We pretended everyone was a John or Jane Doe. And we went from there. And I know, John, you were quite impressed
Oh, yeah.
with Christian, because I know you weren't around him this summer, probably.
True, yes.
True.
Not nearly as much as Andy or.
Yeah, so so we ask that you approve his hire. And I don't know if you have any questions about the gentleman.
His resume seemed impressive. Were any of the other candidates seasonals?
No,
Nope.
no.
I think it helps to also just know the system.
It really does. It cuts back on the training drastically. So that it's been nice to have him. He's done a great job.
Well, it's like trying someone out ahead of time.
Yeah.
We'll see, he's punctual. He's a go-getter. I don't know what else to say, but I think the best thing about him is his brain. He understands things and he problem solves. So that's critical thinking is paramount in our business. Because we need people to say, that's not safe. That doesn't look right. We need to fix that now, not leave it for someone else. He's not one of those.
He was on our athletic fields this year. That's what his main task was. And there's a lot of problems with this like irrigation heads that he caught and stuff like that. But it was nice to have him point out that kind of stuff that you normally wouldn't get from a season. But to come out there, he did a great job.
So we need a motion.
I move that we approve the hiring of Christian Robertson.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Okay.
Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Carolyn.
Yes. Passes.
I thought that was one of the things that Joe was.
No, he can talk about hiring. He just can't talk about fees,
Oh, okay.
Monetary, yeah.
The next slide.
which is our next item. So next item is new business B 2023 shelter and splash pad rental rates and fees. Pages 14 to 17.
If you go to page 14, you'll see our current fees. And if you go to page 15, that's the city of Bloomington fees, and they're gonna add by $3. And you have to realize our fees are for either 3-hour blocks or 6-hour blocks. Theirs are for 24-hour blocks. So if you multiply our shelter 3, for instance, that's $40 for 6 hours. If we rent both sections, it's $80. So we are over the fee that Bloomington is charging. So I don't want you to, when you look at this, like, wow, they charge a lot more. Well, they don't. And we do have multiple people renting both time slots, 6-hour time slots, and especially the 3-hour time slots. Keep that in mind. So we are actually recommending raising the commons fees, shelter 6, that's our indoor shelter, from $75 for a 6-hour block to $100 for a 6-hour block. We believe we've been underestimating that fee for a while, and $100 is still reasonable for what you're getting. But keep all the other fees the same, because if you notice, our revenue for 2022 was $51,270, which is the most we've ever made, ever, since the department was created. And
Well, the expenses, as high as they've ever been too.
well, for most expenses is in labor. So in the county, you know, that we haven't had any major problem.
Minus the new siding.
Minus the
But
comments. Yeah.
So that's kind of a out there thing.
Yeah, the comments, you know, and that will, you know, do us for a couple decades, you know, the roof, the siding, we're updating with cantilevers and just making it a nice.
We improved the bathrooms too, didn't we, recent years?
Did what?
The washrooms?
We put, no, not recent, we did put new lighting, and like LED lighting, which will reduce our electrical bill over the years. So we did things that make sense to us. But the other shelters, they've been doing okay, no major renovations.
To them, changing some outlets from time to time, but that's normal.
Yeah, the roofs are fine, the posts are fine, electrical's fine. We just believe that our prices are competitive and they're still higher than Bloomington. And people are renting and, I think this is one of the best years we've ever had.
So I would have managed to sell out all the garden plots this year, right?
Oh, that's
Most
not
of them, yeah.
most of them.
On the, judging the competitiveness of our prices to Bloomington, you mentioned that we have at least the opportunity to rent out both shelters twice in a 24-hour period. Do you have any idea how often we do that? What percentages of days that we rent the shelter that they're for twice for that day or that period?
Well, we'll have Kate answer that, but real quick, I do know that I believe we do rent twice a day for those slots many times
Quite a bit.
on the weekend. And the 3-hour slots, you know, why is some 3 hour? Because they're so darn popular at the splash pad.
Splash pad, yeah.
People go, boy, we do want a birthday party only for a couple hours. And they go home. Those are wildly popular. So I don't know, Kate, if you want to.
No, I couldn't, unless I did the math, I can't really give you a specific percentage, but I'm gonna
We're
say,
booked.
I'd say at least 70-75% it's full.
Okay.
And that, and you notice the increase in our money from last year to, and I don't know if Jamie maybe told me, and I don't know if it's last year.
On the next page,
Yeah.
page 17.
If there's a comparison on 17, I mean, we really.
Well, that sounds great. Now,
We have a lot of split rentals that like in the winter, our caretaker goes in and cleans in between the split rentals.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
but Kelly said that on the weekends,
Yes.
I assume that during the week, the demand is great for the shelters.
No, it's not,
Okay.
but
I
we
think that's
have,
true of Bloomington.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Bloomington probably doesn't rent their shelters every day of the week.
there have been a few times though that we have actually rented both time slots during like a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because someone wants the whole day. So they'll pay for both of those slots to get the entire day.
Well, it sounds like this is working very well. I just wanted to get a handle as to what degree we're having double use. I mean, you may want to at some point break it out in terms of a number for us, but I'm satisfied it happens often enough that we're doing
Well,
close to as well or as
Yeah.
well as Bloomington.
Yes.
yes.
And it's very popular because it allows more people to be able to take advantage of those pavilions and have that birthday party where if it was booked for the day, they wouldn't get to, so people love that.
Plus at the 40, a lot of it's $40. It does put a shelter in the range if someone doesn't have the finances.
Yeah.
You know. And that's, you know, for a child's birthday party, that's very
Well, I think
important.
it's a great idea. Yeah, and it's working. Right.
So this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both time periods were rented by different people, just this weekend alone.
It's cold out.
And it's like that 1 to 2 days, just about every weekend.
Yeah. It's working very well for us.
But
No, I was just gonna say that, this year's total was 55% higher than a year ago. So,
I mean, we're looking at.
There were a couple of closures last year early on too that affected, but definitely more reservations.
You remember what our last 2018, it's probably in the 30 to 40.
I think it was
wasn't
like 35 or 40. It was close to 40. Yeah,
So, I mean, and that's our last pre-COVID. We
right.
could be fully staffed. Of course, we had got another shelter and a few other changes, but still.
It was in between 35 and 40.
Now, keeping, this is nothing, but Flatwoods Park shelters will be closed for a little while we do the playground. So Flatwoods will be maybe down a little next year just because we have to do closures in order to make the improvements.
Other thoughts? Somebody have a motion for us?
Go ahead and move that we approve 2023 rental fees for the shelters, splash pad facility and garden plots in the same amount of the 2022 fees, with the exception of the Commons building rental shall be increased from $75 to $100.
second,
Any further thoughts, comments? Joe, I'm sorry you can't comment on this because I know you always do, but.
no, you can comment, you just can't vote.
Actually, you can't comment either.
You can't comment
Fortunately.
Instead of to come to the meetings.
either.
Can you use sign language?
Smile.
All right.
Hearing no further comment. Kay, would you call the roll?
Carolyn,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
Carol,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
Motion passes. And next item under new business are the Curse Farm water line issue.
Excellent. Kay, I think you have a handout.
Yeah,
John, you have
everyone. The other.
Please, so, Joe can see it, but I think he's gotten an email, but he's been sick, so I don't.
I've got it.
This just occurred. What happens that we believe our longest water line is damaged. We don't know where, we can't find it. Some of the water line is 40 years old. We went to CBU to talk about what are our best options, and Andy and I and Nancy Axum, who is, I guess, the guru of CBU. I call her the meter queen. Yes. She told us, which I know is obvious, but she's like, water leaks don't get better, they get worse over time. This meter has been averaging 1 unit per month. 1 unit equals 1,000 gallons. In October, we're at 27 units. And we have 1 person flushing a toilet. That is it. So there is definitely a problem. She believes there's a water leak. We believe there's a water leak. The best course of action is to abandon the 2,160-foot water line, have CBU pull that meter, therefore no monthly meter fee on that, remove the water fountain that is attached to that, put it for another use, hook the caretaker's house to the water line at the Karst Athletic Complex. This is an irrigation line, therefore no wastewater fees for the caretaker's house because the caretaker is on septic. So CBU agrees this is the best course of action. We believe it's around a 300-foot from where we need to go to the caretaker's house. Andy is attempting to get 3 quotes for this. So we don't have the price. We believe it's going to be around $10,000. I assume the water leak's going to get worse and we're going to pay more and more and more So I didn't know if the park board would be up to do not spend more than $15,000 to fix this. We believe it's gonna be 10,000, because I have to then take this to the commissioner for them to sign a contract. Well, the commissioners are not meeting very many more times before the end of the year. They've canceled meetings. So I wouldn't want to go too much longer, because it's going to have to be, I mean, not the water line, we're going to have a new water line.
Already paying last month for 27 units, and who knows what November is gonna look like. But I
Right,
assume we
so-
can't abandon the line until after we've dealt with the caretaker's house.
I would assume no, because we have the caretaker living there. He needs to have water, flush his toilet and whatnot. So we don't have a choice but to do this. And we don't have, Andy doesn't have the 3 quotes yet, but if you want to do a motion to say the best responsive quote, and we can send it all to you just so you're aware of everything. Andy is talking to Riverway, who did our last problem, talking to Snediger, who's actually on site doing 2 more projects, and commercial services. So hopefully out of the 3 of reputable people that we would be able to get a reasonable quote. Most of it has to do with the boring. We're gonna have to bore to the caretaker's house just because there's an asphalt parking lot. Are there any detailed questions you have, Joe?
What's the current meter fee?
The current meter fee, I think, is it?
Went from 20.
Well, no, the meter fee is only
Yeah, the fee.
$15 a month,
16.
15, 16. So I mean,
And then our water bill has obviously gone significantly up.
Yeah, that's how I caught it. I watched the utilities and I'm like, wait a minute, this is, first it was this, then it doubled, then it tripled, and I've not received that next bill yet. And it's, I don't even want to see.
now, you know, the fees are not astronomical as in a athletic field water leak. It's not gonna be in the thousands of dollars, but if this, because we believe the group, Andy, I and CBU believe that this water is probably going into karst topography. That's why we can't,
There's no water showing.
There's no water
anywhere
showing.
along that water.
and this is a very long line.
And it goes all over the place. It just comes in and curves everywhere. Hell, it's underneath the asphalt for probably 100 feet at least. So it really could be.
So A, finding the leaks would cost us a ton, and B,
Well, and
it's already so old that we'll
So
probably
old
just
that
have another leak.
Yeah.
Right. In
Next year.
comparison, remember we had to put a new water line in for the soccer, we call it the soccer restroom. That was 1,350 feet. That was $38,000. This line is 2,160 feet. So CBU and us believe a new water line that's only 300 feet would be the best course of action.
2 comments that may be contradictory. The first one is, I think it's possible that you can characterize the situation as an emergency because the volumes of water leaking could, create serious financial problems for us if we don't address it immediately. And plus, it's a major waste of a limited resource. But this solution sounds very creative to me and makes me wonder if we are going to be fully in conformance with all code requirements from building department or planning or whatever, and whether just going on the basis of what CBU recommends, I'm not confident that means we've met all our requirements.
I can go ask them, but from past experiences, they'll say we have nothing to do with this.
Okay.
It's what CBU, where we can connect in their wastewater, and they're really the one in charge, not
Okay.
building or planning.
Well, if we're certain of that, then
I am
that's
certain
good.
of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I will
if
ask.
we were doing something in terms of rerouting sewage waste, I know that the health department and CBU and other agencies would be very concerned about that. If it's water, maybe it's not as much of a concern.
And it is not.
Okay.
It is just a great one.
So we don't have that.
We're on septic. So, the health department has been out to our septic field twice in the last few years. They're very happy with it.
Well, it would be
Might be going, you're not listening.
as a retired attorney, it would be nice if we had this fix approved in writing from CBU. In case there's some question down the road.
Oh, I'm sure Nancy would write in emails for us.
I mean, it's up to Molly to advise you on that, but it's, as I say, it's a creative and hopefully effective resolution of this, but we don't want to create future problems.
Well, they're doing away with the only wastewater charge we had. That was the drinking fountain.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the only reason they charged wastewater, because it was.
Right.
We're doing away with that, so.
It sounds like it's a win-win situation, but yeah.
And I agree. I think it would be best if we had something in writing from CBU to say this solution is okay and that, you know, we're okay with all the codes and I said like of that nature.
That will not be difficult to obtain.
Joe, do you have thoughts?
Well, number one, I think of it as an emergency myself. I just hate to see, 27,000 gallons of water, and this month it may be 50,000 gallons of water being wasted. So, yeah, I'd get 3 quotes quick, and this solution's a great solution. I fully support it. And I think the idea of spending up to, we could put a limit of $15,000 or something, that'd be fine. We want to make sure we have it high enough to cover it so you can get to the commissioners and get approval.
With respect to the quotes, if the rest of the board agrees that this is an emergency situation, if you can't get 3 quotes within a week, go with whatever quotes you get.
Because I think the 3 vendors that Andy is working with are all very competent vendors, so.
Okay.
It's just,
I'm supposed to be getting calls back from commercial service and from Snedeker, and then the guy from Riverway came out and met with me today,
Okay.
and he's supposed to be sending me a quote at some point.
I
So
believe that the statutory provisions for an emergency allow you to do it without 3 quotes, but
and it's under.
if we can get them quickly, I prefer 3 quotes.
see how long it takes to get back.
Well, I agree.
And
I wouldn't wait more than a week. I'm like Kevin, 1 week's plenty and go with what you've got.
In the commissioners, oh, sorry, Molly, go on.
All I was going to say was if we're worried, if you are concerned that the commissioners are going to cancel additional meetings, they have canceled the meetings that they intend to for the year. So they will be meeting 3 more times. Not next week because of Thanksgiving, but they will meet the week thereafter and then 2 times in December.
So their next meeting is November 30th.
Get in on that, that would be the best. Any other discussion? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we authorize work to be done on the water line in Cars Farm Park in accordance with the November 16th memo to the park board. And that we allow an expenditure up to $15,000 towards that work. And if we can't get 3 quotes responses within a week, that we pursue emergency provisions for the authorization of this work without 3 quotes.
Second.
I second it.
Further discussion? Hearing none, Kay, will you call the roll?
Joe?
Yes.
Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. Carolyn,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
We will get that resolved as soon as possible. The business item G, the 2023 Parks Board Officer Committee. Now, Phil and Joe have been our committee the last couple of years. They've done a really great job in strong arming people into board positions. Guys interested in doing that again this year?
Take the lead, Joe.
What'd you say, Phil?
I said, take the lead.
Yeah, okay, well, we would be glad to do that again.
Yes, yeah, we'll do it.
And Evelyn will be so glad to know we have a committee.
Carolyn, could you have him take down this, I've got this
Oh,
document on the screen.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks. Thank you.
Any other comments on our officer committee? I take it you will report back to us at the next meeting.
Yes, we will.
All right, financial reports.
Oh, dog park.
Sorry. At the dog. At dog parks.
John? Well, I think Joe likes to see you. Did you want to talk?
Oh,
John's our new computer guru.
I don't know about that, that's what we're talking about. And Carolyn read it, but basically, our entrance system at the dog park, we have determined is at the end of its lifespan. It's done a fantastic job for a long time, but we're dealing with enough issues now of having key fobs not working, that it's looking like we're probably gonna have to go a different direction.
Real quick, Joe, did you want that taken down?
I've got a copy of it here on my phone, so I don't need to see it on the, you can take it down, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're looking at different options for the entrance system at the dog park. Tech Services has recommended that we look into a software called Brivo, B-R-I-V-O. That is the software that they are using for the new employee entrance system into the buildings. So decent timing there. But basically, we're in a position where we either keep the gate open at the dog park, which is what we're doing right now because the key fobs aren't working, or we start looking into this software. We've only had a couple conversations with Tech Services. We don't have much of an idea of the cost that would be incurred by the department. But our hope or recommendation to the board is to approve up to a certain amount for this software if we find that it's reasonable to purchase. That way we can move forward and not have to deal with the commissioner meeting issues similar to the water line.
There's no way we can piggyback that onto what TSD is already doing.
And that's another possibility too. And likely what would happen is we would fall under the umbrella of their current, partnership, whatever that is, but our department would likely still have to pay for whatever was installed at the dog park.
But we would pay TSD, not the vendor. We'd reimburse TSD.
Yes, I'm looking at this as quite a different situation as the last agenda item. Not seeing much of an emergency here unless
Well,
the dog park gets a lot of use in cold weather times.
here's the situation. The gate's been down for a month and a half,
I don't know these things like that.
at least a month. They're getting restless, the members.
It's not open. I mean,
It's open.
But it's not private.
It's not private
They're
anymore.
paying for a service that gives them private access to the dog park.
And they call every day. Every single day. They email us every single day. They're expecting us to move as fast as we possibly can, so we can secure the dog park with people with the proper vaccinations, and they're not children in there, and all the thing that goes to that. We would like to move as fast as possible, just because this is a nice customer base. We've been, good partners with them. They've been good partners with us. It's just time to move on to new technology. And one part of this technology is they'll get a thing like this, or they can load it on their phone and do the gate this way. We'll have access at our computers to deny someone access if they don't have, what they think we think they should have. And also Tech Services has the machine that makes these. We won't have to buy it. We can go take our cards upstairs, do the magic, bring our cards back downstairs and take care of it that way. So the new system would be a win-win. It'll be situated for, I'd say, years to come. I think the dog park people think it's an emergency.
Yeah, I think it depends what you consider.
Some of them. Yeah, I mean, they're very vocal.
Well-
They're very vocal.
I mean, for this item, I don't have any idea what the cost could be. So I'm reluctant to authorize a blank check. If we were to authorize something, I would be comfortable with something on the order of $5,000. And then if it's beyond that, have you come back with the hope that we could piggyback on what the county's doing or other areas of the county. If that's realistic, but more than that, I guess I'd like to see what the cost is.
How about 6 or 7, just in case? And the only,
Others could, that's just my thoughts.
I think that, the real answer is we don't know. I think that 5, 6 or 7 would be helpful and obviously, but I think 5 is reasonable. Just kind of the nature of how these things work now, typically there's not as much of an upfront cost, especially since Tech Services already has an agreement with this company. So there's no onboarding fees associated with it.
Well, you raise a good point, is that this would be then an annual cost.
It would likely be an annual cost.
And we have an annual cost now. Have we had an annual cost?
We don't, other than if there are any sort of troubleshooting issues that we have to do. And so that's not an annual fee, but it is money that we have to put towards the system.
and I don't know if Greg has mentioned how much one card costs, because we have how many members? 200?
Probably 150 active.
So we have to make
the most.
And if that is part of the 5,000, or is it separate? I just want to make sure we can get everyone the cards that they need.
And I can't answer that.
You introduced other questions in my mind, and that is, I'd like to see what our revenues from the dog park are before I would authorize an annual expense, the $5,000 or $10,000 range. I mean, that's on an annual basis, that's a lot of money.
We are meeting December.
But I'd like others to speak up.
Is there a difference? I guess mechanically or electronically for this gate in this way, different than one of the doors or one of the buildings that
The county
Yeah.
operates as it is right now, yes. So the software, the entrance system that we're using is entirely separate from everything that's county.
But what I'm trying to figure out is, I know how many buildings the county has, and I don't know if their contract is, what I'm trying to figure out if there's any comparison between what we're trying to do and any of the county buildings, because maybe we could just divide it up and kind of figure out what we're gonna get if it's just.
As far as what the potential cost could be, yeah, I really don't know. And we've asked Tech Services for an estimate and I don't know that we've had enough conversations yet to really know.
And maybe the commissioners would just absorb this cost. If they're doing it for a number of other agencies in the county as a one cost item, maybe we could get.
I suspect that they would say, well, buy your own badges.
What could be a possibility is it seems like a lot of these softwares, so you've got we'll call it the onboarding fee, and your annual fee depends on in this case, how many buildings are using this system or how many people are using it. And what could potentially happen is if our department provides the funding for the onboard, so installing this system at the dog park, the commissioners might be able to, or tech services, support the annual fee from that point forward. I don't know. We've not had that conversation, but
The other question is if we replace the current system with the new system that's the same, do we know what that would run? And is it possible?
we
Well-
don't, but I know that tech services is making an initiative to streamline these sorts of software, similar to like the website. You're trying to get all the county departments under their umbrella. This is the software and the. company that
In
they
this,
use.
in this software that was chosen because there was nothing available when the dog park was created. So we had to be creative ourselves. It's actually for an apartment complex. The software people are in California, our vendors in Indianapolis. And they've been working, but it's tough because we have to call Indianapolis to try to get their people down here. We have to call California for support. You know, we would rather have it all in-house. TSD can say, oh, I can fix that, or B-Tech can come out and fix it right away. When we might be down, and plus the key fobs are really, I don't have one with me.
I'm not working here.
Yeah,
they're about
it's a
that
lot
big.
different. It's older technology. So having things like this and things on your phone would be a big advancement to the dog park. I mean, it served its purpose. And I think we've outgrown it.
How much
So,
does it cost us for key fobs?
$10 a pop. And
There's a big difference between.
I think
putting a card in
I think this has to be cheaper. I mean, it just has, it just has to be cheaper.
Yeah, I think so, because those key fobs are.
Yeah, they're $10 and we get those
We
in
have to, we
California.
have to buy a minimum.
Yeah,
They won't allow us.
yeah. And yes, it depends what your definition of emergency is. If you're a dog park member, it's getting dire for them. And Beth is, I didn't know if we told you that Beth has been gradually taking over the management of the dog park, taking it away from John, giving it to Beth, so she's in charge of the facility. And boy, it's quite a time to transfer, and she's getting all these calls and
Trial by fire.
trial by fire.
To answer your question about how much we bring in, I think this year so far it's about almost 5,000 that the dog park is, so. And we're getting,
It's in your packet, you can read it, collections.
I would like to say that considering the bend over backwards thing we've done for some other customers, this probably is not a bad thing to do for this customer base. I mean, if we put a limit on it, $7,000, I certainly would.
And this would get us going for years. I mean, years. And we'll have a better grasp, but TSD is really adamant, like, we can't help you unless you go to this system. Because when things go down, if we're relying on Indianapolis and California, it's a lot different than just going upstairs, literally upstairs to come help us. It would be a tremendous asset to have local people helping out with this problem. And I believe the dog park is very popular, even though Bloomington has a couple of dog parks, they are not managed. And doesn't mean that we would not have a problem in our dog park. But we have a lot different problems than they do. Theirs are very severe problems compared to a managed dog park. And that's why these people really enjoy coming to the Cars Dog Park. It gives them a choice. They know people have been to the vet. They know that we know who they are. If there is a problem, we can take care of it for them. So I believe there still is a good argument to having a managed dog park than not a free-for-all dog park.
And the collections is up to date or to date are $48.95, so.
And that's a month.
Yeah.
A month back. And plus, we believe that we will be able to entice more members. Beth will probably do a couple of events out there. We've been working with the animal control for some, we've had some adoption things.
I know John's worked with Monroe County Humane Association to have events. So I think if we do a big marketing push, we would also get more members, but we want to be ready for them. We don't want to, oh, the gate's down again. Oh, this happened again, you know, and it's been on and off. So, because what people really hate is going to the dog park and the key fob not working. That doesn't make them happy at all.
Yeah, especially, I mean, there are people that come from all the way on the east side to Carter Park. It's a long drive to find out that you can't run your dog.
Yeah. It's stressful on them.
And that could lose us a customer for life, so.
It could. So we hope to alleviate these problems for years to come if we can make this transfer to what TSD is recommending.
I'd like to hear what Joe has to say on this.
Well, I mean, I think I can understand how, if I was the dog owner, it would be an emergency to me. You know, I think we need to go set a limit though as to how much. I really don't like any situation where, you know, we're asked to write a blank check. So I'd say maybe 5,000 is a good number, and hopefully it's a lot less than that. And I am concerned, as Kevin mentioned, you know, is there some large annual fee? Because that's what really hurts us. It's easier for us to come up with the one-time capital expense than it is to come up with the ongoing maintenance expense. So you need to find those details out, and surely to goodness someone can tell you that.
With our next meeting, it's early December, isn't it?
Yeah, it's second week, I think.
13 is 14. Whatever.
Okay, so it's a little less than a month from now.
Well, it's over the holidays, which I will say the dog park's quite used a lot over the holidays.
You know, I think Joe and I are on the same page on this. I'm willing to, you know, to go with $5,000, but I would set a $1,000 maximum on what I would approve at this time for an annual fee. And I just think if it's beyond that, either upfront or annual basis, we need to talk about it more and talk about how it fits in the budget and what the alternatives are. But if it's within $5,000 upfront and less than or equal to $1,000 a year, I guess I'd be okay with authorizing you to go forward today.
That would be a fine motion.
I don't know if others agree, but
It sounds good to me, Kevin.
I don't know about this system, but when we were talking to the Indy guy the other day, and he was talking about the newer system that they sell, didn't he say it was like for their monthly fee was like $10 a month or something for that system? But that's a different one altogether, but that, you know, so some people are doing $120 a year, so who knows? It might give you a rough idea.
It might be. And if it's based off of anything similar to like your user base or the amount of transactions in and out, it should be relatively inexpensive.
I mean, that would include, you know, if we had a service contract with it or anything that goes along with that expense, you know, okay. I can make the motion or try to make the motion. I'll move that we authorize the replacement of the software for the dog park gates, I guess it is.
Might be a little hardware in there too.
And equipment, associated equipment for acquisition of the system, which the county will be using, which is called
Revo.
At an upfront cost of no more than $5,000 and a annual cost of no more than $1,000.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, Kay?
Carol,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
and Phil.
Yes.
Passes, we shall, to financial reports, okay, anything in particular you love to bring out?
I think, and then go about what they were moving here as far as the golf cart project so far this year, and our current cash balance, of course, is on page 24. So look at the 1179 and Parks Capital, I think we're doing very well. We're, coming out of COVID. Advance and I think everything looks good.
Board members' thoughts? Reports, recreation report, park maintenance report, and the human resource report, and hopefully everybody had a chance to look at those. That has always been very busy.
Oh, Autumn got married. Yeah, Zion Park out west. And
She said that in her report.
But yeah, she did that in the report. And she's flying back today or tomorrow and then probably going back up home Minnesota for a family party. Her and her young man are, well, they might have got married twice or 3 times. I don't know. There's been a few ceremonies, parents and stuff.
I think you just get married once.
I think they're getting married.
A lot of celebration.
They're having a lot of celebrations since they're not from Bloomington and, you know,
Yeah.
family other places.
Autumn told me she's Native American, so they're doing different ceremonial.
Nice.
The one the feds care about happens once.
Yeah.
After that, you can party as much. Do whatever. You want. Wish her, give her our congratulations if you would. And there's no correspondence. Are there other thoughts from the board before we adjourn? And we will entertain a motion for adjournment.
You want
Second, Bill.
No.
It is at 4:51.
I'll see you all next month and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Feel better.